Hello guys, I'm back. One more lesson for tonight. I'm going to touch on some ancient Egypt history. Ancient Egypt had notaries, guys. So what would it be like if you were a notary around 2750 BC in ancient Egypt? What would your life be like? That's the question for today. Hi, I'm Daniel, Franklin Innovation Notary Service. I'm going to give you guys some awesome history tonight concerning notaries in ancient Egypt. What would your life be like in 2750 BC as a notary? So tons of us own our own notary business, our own signing service and signing agent. But say you weren't born in 1990 or 1980 or in the 1970s, however old you were. Say you were born back in 2750 BC. Just imagine. And you're born into ancient Egypt. And you have a set of skills that may just change your life and your family's life forever. Ancient Egypt, 2750 BC. What would your skills have done for you in 2750 BC? You would be known as a sesh or a scribe. That's what notaries were called in ancient Egypt. So what would your duties be? That's the question. And what would your life be like in ancient Egypt? And that's what I'm going to touch on today. 2750 BC were the first known times of notaries in ancient Egypt. Their job was to record official transactions and played a key role in developing the government and commerce during that time of society. So as a notary, you would have been in the royal court communicating with who they call God or Pharaoh. You have been in the courts, in the royal courts of Pharaoh himself, the God of Egypt, the God who was known to communicate with Ra and with other gods. You were in the royal courts of the High King, and your job was to notate all public records, known as the Kabbath. So scribes was part of the royal court. They were part of bureaucracy for recording letters and official proclamations of tax records, written in communication, and other documents. So today, as a Notary Public, it's a commission, and you must be at least 18 years old. You must have no felony convictions. You must be an upstanding citizen. So it was the same thing during this time, because you would have been in communication with the royal bureaucracy, the royal commerce. So during ancient Egypt, many people were illiterate, meaning they couldn't read. So it would be up to the notary, up to the sesh, to actually communicate with the people about what was going on in the government. They didn't have TV. There weren't newspapers. There were decrees that went out, but it was the notary's job. It was the sesh job to get this information out. During 2750 BC, it's the first time they talked about notaries. Being a notary during this time was so important. During the time of whom we call King Tut, Tutankhamun was his name. He even put his notary tools in his tomb, which gives me some sort of question for history. Was King Tut himself a notary at one point in time? We know him as being a pharaoh, but was he indeed a notary? Why was this so important that he would put it in his tomb for the afterlife? Was he making a point to when he went to the afterlife that, these tools would give him some sort of riches or fame in the afterlife? But that's how important a notary was during this time. So what they used was, they call it papyrus. That was what it was, a reed brush, dipping ink tools, things like that. And seshes had to keep records of everything. They were over record keeping. It was known that there was a code that they had to go by, a law that they had to go by, but archaeologists at this time, they have not found any such thing. But that's how important it would be. Matter of fact, they had a saying before they would imply a decree that would go out. They would say, "May you be well when you hear this." So it's almost like the oath that we give to oath and affirmations. There's some oath that we have to announce to the signer. So, may you be well when you hear this. May you be well when you hear this. Ancient Egypt, 2750 BC, as a sesh, you would have been part of the royal court of the pharaoh. You would have sat before a god. You have been part of early literations, communication, proclamations, tax records. You would have sat right in the royal courts. Here in 2022, you're a Notary Public. In 2715 BC, in ancient Egypt, you were called a sesh. Pretty cool. All right, guys, this is it. If you guys have any other questions, you have any requests, be sure you DM me, comment at the bottom. So this was Notaries in Ancient Egypt, 2750 BC. What would your life have been like in 2750 BC as a sesh, as a notary?